to episode 7, season 2 of Elevated Businesses, where I have conversations with cannabis entrepreneurs. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to KJ Saffold. He is a decorated U.S. Army combat veteran, a graduate from the United States Military Academy at West Point, and a Georgia Tech EMBA candidate. KJ brings high-level executive leadership, strategic planning, distribution logistics, IT management, and proven operational excellence to the cannabis industry. In addition, he is a fierce advocate for social justice, social equity, and veteran medical cannabis use. In August 2021, Illinois awarded his company an adult use dispensary conditional license. I am so excited for you to hear this conversation. We talk a lot about the military, his previous experience, and really how he was trying to build excellent teams around him through his own leadership, which, of course, you have to lead by an example. So let's dive right into the conversation so you can meet KJ. Well, KJ, thank you so much for joining me today. You and I first crossed paths through MJ Stack, one of my ecosystem partners. And I think we originally got introduced so that way you could join in on RMCC's social equity incubator program. And so incredibly happy to have you and your brother join us out of Michigan and Illinois. So I would love to start with telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started in cannabis, all of that fun stuff. So please feel free to take it away.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for this opportunity and also for the awesome program that I have been participating in. So very appreciative of that and just want to make sure that, I'll let you know. So I appreciate that. As you said, I'm KJ Saffold. I am born and raised in the Chicago area, South Side. So if anybody asks, I'm a White Sox fan. That has to be for record. So grew up in a derelict area where we were very much impacted by the war on drugs and just a lot of the things that were kind of established early on that were not in favor of the minority. And where I was coming up, not having a lot of resources, not having a lot of examples of what right looks like, I just did my best to focus on the good out of what I can pull and create a plan and just try to work that plan in order to achieve any level of success. And so what that kind of led to was I was an athlete, did karate when I was growing up, and so that kind of really helped me have established principles and kind of knowing who I am and kind of understanding, what my character is and things like that. And so early on, I established that I just wanted to be an individual of integrity. And so I just kind of always sought out organizations or things that kind of help align me with that goal. And that opportunity or that kind of alignment allowed me to matriculate through high school and be accepted into West Point, which is the United States Military Academy. And that was a awesome opportunity, very challenging, but also very rewarding. And in my time there, it just kind of reaffirmed and just continued to belabor that cornerstone that I had learned early on is what I wanted to be as a person, not just a guy from Chicago, not just a veteran, not just a black man, but an individual of character that just wants to continue to help others be successful in their regard as well. And so spent some time in the military, 10 and a half years. I had a deployment to Iraq, deployment to Afghanistan, really built some great teams, worked with some great individuals of all denominations, faith, you name it. And what I learned then is that my ability to communicate would ultimately be what is either my success or my failure. And so when we were deployed and we were in just challenging moments and just challenging times when you're looking around to your left and to your right, and even though we may look different and we may have different beliefs and different thoughts, nonetheless, we were there for the same reason, and we all wanted to be successful in that regard. So we had to just kind of put aside our own personal gripes or feelings to understand that there's a greater purpose, there's a greater opportunity if we can align on that and communicate effectively and just work to achieve that. And so that was my job, to make sure that individuals, no matter where they came from or how smart they were or not, were just able to work with one another and try to achieve something of greater good. And I kind of started to miss my family,
Of
where
course,
I
yeah.
was definitely pouring a lot of my energy and just trying to build cohesive teams and really look out for those who work for me and who I work for, because those who work for me, if I can help them be the best version of themselves, therefore I am great. And so I would just kind of, use my energy to just try to help them, you know, mitigate any issues they had, or just kind of think through some things strategically and make plans and really be the best versions of themselves. So then when I'm asking of them certain things and tasks that are like, if you look at it on paper, you're like, man, that's crazy. Like, I really asked that dude to like do something. And it is because they know that I would do the same for them.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what I've learned by serving. It has continually put me in an opportunity to gain success. Now, once the opportunity is there, I have to be actionable. I have to be intentional. I have to, it's a responsibility. And so that's another, level to it. But at the end of the day, by serving, I would continue to gain opportunities. And this is kind of what started me into the cannabis industry, where I transitioned out of the military January 1st of 2020. And everybody knows 2020 was, chaos, complete and utter chaos, excuse me.
Right. Absolutely.
Shameless plug again, go Bears. Um, so I was in Afghanistan and thinking to myself, man, okay, I want to get out, but I don't want to just go do some run of the mill job and work for, like a paper mill factory, or, do anything that was, conceived to me as being mundane. And that's not a slight to anybody in those type of opportunities, but I felt that I attended Catholic school from kindergarten through 12th grade. Then I went to a military academy. Then I was in the Army for 10 and a half years. Time and time and time again, I was in some regimented lifestyle, and I just wanted to try to figure out, hey, could I go and do this on my own? Could I cut my teeth and learn something, be innovative, resource, and put myself in positions to gain success? And what that kind of yielded was, okay, well, I'll look for an opportunity once I get out to just really work for something that looks what right looks like. For me, the Army is what right looked like. They had policies, procedures, and standards, and you could see what you had to do in order to achieve the next level. And hindsight being 2020, when I was growing up and doing karate, it was what right looks like. You
Yeah.
knew how to carry yourself, and what did being an advanced rank look like, and what you should exude and who you should be. And that is kind of where I was thinking, okay, if I work for someone or something, I want to work for what right looks like. And I was accepted to, not to be named, very large company that ships packages. And I worked for them for about a year and a half. And on paper, it's what right looks like. And it's like anything else, once you get into something, you kind of see what's behind the curtain, and you start to see the dust bunnies, and you're like, oh, okay, like everything. But it is, how can I take advantage of this opportunity to, one, be resourceful and be helpful to those I'm working with day in and day out? And then also use this to build my experience and help me understand what right looks like. And with that being said, I poured into those individuals that I worked with, the same that I did when I was an officer. And that meant that we were going through the pandemic. We were going through all of the social justice things that were going on in 2020.
Right.
We were living that life. And I remember trekking through where I live, which is the south side of Chicago, and it's looking very similar to my time in Iraq and to my time in Afghanistan. And where I have seen derelict and just no resources and just not good intention, where I grew up in that type of environment, I saw it while I was deployed, and it was like, we're not evolving.
Yeah.
And this is not what right looks like. And I would still have to go to work and I would have to be there. And I could not wear everything that I was going through because I had to help those who I worked with and worked for me be the best version of themselves. Yes, it sucks, guys. Yes, the snow is up to our kneecaps. Yes, we have a lot of challenges that we're dealing with day in and day out. Things were built not in the favor of minorities. That's not a secret. And as a man of color, a black man that has been able to identify what right looks like, even though I didn't always have the resources, the financial means, the acumen, the everything that's anything that keeps an individual from just trying to be what right looks like. All the excuses that we can use day in and day out, right?
Yeah.
We can make excuses.
Yeah.
Or we can say, hey, I'm flawed like everybody, and we can try to be what right looks like and just do it time and time again. And so poured into that opportunity. Then at simultaneously, this is my cannabis story now. uh, September 19, excuse me, yes, September 2019, as I was a few months out from transitioning and becoming a mister, my wife plopped a paper. I don't even recall where she got it from. I think she printed it out. And so shout out to all of the Army spouses, to my great wife, to anybody that has a spouse, supportive one that is with them throughout amidst all the chaos and confusion. Because like anybody, an entrepreneur is like trying to find out what right looks like.
Right.
And to have support that is not talked about enough. And I'm very appreciative of my wife, Ariane Saffold, would like to say her name, because I would not be who I am today without what she's been able to provide for me. And that matters,
Yeah.
right? When we look at what right looks like. Like, you can't be a dirtbag off camera and be stellar on camera. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna be Ken and KJ regardless. When you see me, you see me. I'm flawed, but I am doing my best to be my best, and that's what I just ask of others that I align with. And as long as we can agree on that, we communicate effectively, and we can do that succinctly. We're good. We're gonna ride into the sunset.
Yeah.
But if
Integrity.
that's it, integrity. That's all it is. That's all, and it's very simple.
Yeah.
What are you doing when nobody's looking? And thinking about that.
Yep.
How can it affect others? And if it doesn't affect others, do your thing. If it's just you and you going and doing, whatever you want to do in your own confines, go at it, right? But if you're doing it at the disregard of someone else, like, understand that everything is connected. You
Yep.
can't do one thing without something coming from somewhere else. And
Yep.
if you do repetitive things of not what right looks like, you will reap what you sow. And so everything that we're experiencing is not a repeat of history. It is history gone where it's not, doesn't have integrity
Yeah. It's
in
like
some
karma.
regard, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, we got to deal with everything we sown. And so, with that being said, that's my soapbox. But my wife plopped on my desk, hey, Illinois is going legal January 2020 on the rec side, because they had already gone on the medicinal side. I had considered it, but the conversation in the military is so taboo, very, very much
Right.
challenging. And so, and I know I may be segued into like, how I got into the cannabis industry. So please, if you got to ask questions, I am very
It's
long-winded,
all
as you
good. I'm
can
letting
see.
you stay in your flow.
Cool, cool. So, yeah, so she put it on my desk. I had already known that there were MSOs, multi-state operators already in the industry in Illinois. And I was like, man, there's nobody else. Who else but me to try to put this puzzle together and be what right looks like? I am from the south side of Chicago. My family was directly affected by the war on drugs, and I had to navigate through all of the obstacles and the hurdles and all the things that could be every reason why I shouldn't be right here today, right? I deployed. I made it through West Point, the preeminent leadership institution in the country.
Right. That's such an
And
achievement. That's crazy.
I went from night to day, like overnight, gunshots, gangs, and police sirens to like complete silence, and like, what is going on here? Left, 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 Russian left, you know? And by the time I went to Iraq, I was like, well, I mean, Inglewood was my first deployment. I made it through a lot of crazy stuff,
Yeah.
and that's just hindsight. It's like, that's not what right looks like. And how did we get there?
Yeah.
And what can we do to try to make our next step better and not just talk about all the BS that is why we and your fault. Who give a
Just
damn?
always pointing the
Like, let's
fingers,
get
not
up and
taking
get up. Like,
responsibility.
man,
Like,
shut up and move.
yeah.
Let's go. I hear you. Okay, it's all, yeah, we fucked up. Like, come on, man. Look, let's move now. What we gonna do today, right now, to make this good?
Yeah.
Stop talking about all that garbage. Stop doing all that BS blaming. It goes to nowhere. It's not what right looks like. We know that. Yes, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Hold yourself accountable. Have integrity.
Yeah.
And do what right looks like and let it get better. It's that simple. It is really that simple.
And
It is absolutely that simple.
ties directly into entrepreneurship, because you, like, if your company fails, the only one that's responsible is you. Your decisions, your lack of communication, your lack of structure, like that all comes back down to you and the decisions you made, and you have to take responsibility for that.
Absolutely. And as a leadership, and this is, I wouldn't say it's a misnomer, but I think all too often when people think leadership, they already think good, but there is examples of good leadership and bad leadership, and it's still leadership. Leadership is a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership is a way of life. It's like art, it's
Yeah.
like science. It's a way of life.
Yeah.
It's integrated into everything that we do, right? You can have good leaders, you can have bad leaders, you can have examples of good and examples of not good. And so, as a leader, especially within this industry that's emerging, that is putting individuals into opportunities to amass generational productive opportunities for their families, right? And understanding that you can bring leadership in a good way or in a not good way, and it could be why this industry is what right looks like, or it's just some BS.
Right. And I think a really big misconception with leadership is when people get into leadership roles, they think that their team works for them. But in reality, as a leader, you work for your team. And if you can't
Service,
work for your team, then,
service,
and if you don't have that communication, then your team falls apart.
servitude. That is what they say, the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Uh, so I mean, I'm 22 years old and I'm in about 105 degrees and full body armor with a helmet on my head and a M16. And I have about 20 guys rolling with me, and we are in Mosul, Iraq. And we are on a mission escorting a very important individual to a key area to have a meeting,
Okay.
right? This is real life. And I'm bestowed all of this responsibility for guys that are from the mountains of Tennessee, the north side of Chicago, Georgia, Brooklyn, New York. I had a Cali soldier, I had soldiers from anywhere, you name it. These dudes listened to all type of music. They had all type of friends and backgrounds and just lives.
Yeah.
And now we're all in one location with one uniform, rocking the same beat. We want to go home the same way we came. And that's like as real as it gets.
Yeah.
And as a leader, what and this is, I would say, all leadership is not specific to the military, but in some instances it may be prevalent. You have a lot of leaders that want to be great in the right that it's at somebody else's discretion. And so leaders who want to write books, everybody wants to write a book. Oh man, I was great, and I led all these guys into battle, and we did all this great stuff. And here's my leadership philosophy. This is why I'm awesome. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Talk about
that's
ego.
good, right? But how do you actually do that,
Yeah.
right? How do you actually do that? I don't have to write my book. I will one day. Shameless plug. But my book is written by those who work for me. They'll tell you what's real. They'll tell you what's not real. They'll tell you I was a leader of integrity or he's a bunch of hot smoke and stay away from him. And that is what is either going to elevate me or be my catalyst to my demise. And I had to pour into everybody that I worked with and worked for me as if I worked for them because I did.
Yeah.
Dude, I know your stomach is terrible right now because you had the chili mac and the defac, but we roll out in 2 hours and you are my right hand guy. Can you do this?
Yeah.
All right, you know what? I don't want you to do this. You don't look well. I want you to hydrate. And he's like, no, sir, I'm going. I'm going. I'm going because I want to be. And this is a real story. I had a soldier with the BGs, and we're doing a mission.
Oh no!
And he's my gunner, and he's sitting right in the turret hole, and I'm right here, and he's right there. He just and we have handsets on like this. But that guy, Corporal Boyette at the time, he rolled with me. He rocked with me because I rocked with him, and he cared that much to say, "Sir, I want to be there, even when my stomach hurt."
Yeah.
Right?
Because he
How
knows
do
you
you
would have done
do?
the same too, and it's because leadership. You lead
I
by
would.
example.
That's it. Leadership is an action word.
Yeah.
It's not a book title.
Right.
You want to be a leader? Be a leader.
Yeah.
At any level. If I'm mopping the corner because I'm the custodian for the day, I'm going to be a leader mopping that corner. And somebody will walk by and like, that's a really good mop corner. Who did that? Put that kid on dishes next. And then before you know it, I'm running whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares where you start?
Yeah.
Yes, it's lame that there were systems that were in place. It's very lame. And it's very just off-putting that there were things established to keep individuals down.
Yeah.
Right? It sucks. We should study that. We should acknowledge that. We should know that. That was not what right looks like. And we should absolutely put things in place that restores that lack of integrity. Just like anything else, when somebody has an issue or makes a mistake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you restore where bad practice was put? It happens time and time again, right? But the challenge is at every level, the restoration and that purpose has to have the same intent. It's not oh yeah, it's okay, guys, No, it's like in the military, if you mess up, you mess up. It doesn't matter what your rank is.
Yeah. Take ownership, move on, solve it.
What?
Yeah.
And if you try to be deceptive, that is even a darker mark on your integrity.
Yeah.
Like, so you didn't even have the gall to stand up after you fucked up.
Yeah.
That's bad leadership. I would not want somebody that I work for to not tell me something and be deceptive about it. Yeah. Where if you communicate, yes, we're going to have a conversation, and if it's too crazy, look, you understood the assignment. But if you do it and you hide it and you pull others in, everybody, that's cancerous.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I can trust in you, that if I am, and sorry for the graphic, but laying on the battlefield bleeding out, and yes, you support somebody who I don't, and our skin tone doesn't look the same, and you believe in one thing and I believe in something else, and your friends are very, very much different than I am and probably wouldn't want to talk to me, but you grab me and pull me off and render life support and make sure that I get back to where we started.
Yeah.
Because I would do the same thing for you. I don't care where you come from or what you've done. Restore that. Be who you say you are.
Yeah. Or else it
Be
just
who you say you
festers. That
are.
lack of character, that lack of integrity, it
It
just
doesn't get better in
festers and you
time.
don't have any trust. And especially with your life on the line, like you're only as good as the person right next to you. And if you can't trust that person and if you can't
What are
move
you gonna
on
do?
from it, I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have this conversation. I mean, our first conversation, I just like knew instantly, just like by how you hold yourself, your energy, and how you just want to build better people around you. And I love that. I think it's needed. I think that in cannabis, there's too much ego, that there's a lot of gatekeeping and holding too much information. And that's not what you're about. You want to build a better community around you, a better team, better individuals, and you want to do that by setting an example of how through your leadership and through your actions and through your character. And so I'm a really big proponent of people with military backgrounds coming into cannabis. One of the very first operations that I worked for, the COO, also had a military background and was to this day the most structured operation I have ever seen in my life. And he was also very much that type of person that was like, you don't point fingers. Like, you fuck up, you take that responsibility,
Man,
we
what's
address
up?
it, we move on. And
When
I
you point,
love that.
you got three fingers pointed back at
Yeah.
you. When you
Truth.
point,
Oh
right?
my God, truth.
So start with where did I miscommunicate?
Yeah.
Let me think about that. Oh, I didn't. Okay, I talked to him once. He confirmed. I talked to him again. We were good. I didn't miscommunicate and walk that backward and say, oh, well, I thought I sent that message, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I need to go back out there and be like, John, my bad, bro. I didn't send a message.
Yep.
All right, this is what's real. My bad, dude.
Yep.
Like, and then have the awareness in the moment to not just go off the cuff, especially understanding your surroundings.
Yeah.
Like, I would have soldiers and I would chew them for whatever derelict or disrespect because that's what's real. I'm gonna hold like, bro, I need you to understand what we're doing here. If I say go, it's because I need you to do it because it's for the benefit of us.
Yeah.
Because you know that, right?
Yeah.
So if I have to hold someone accountable, depending on the severity of what I'm holding them accountable for, what is my setting? And should I go ahead and blow off the cuff right then and there in front of everybody and embarrass that individual and give them a reason to think twice
Yeah.
when I give them direction or instruction next time,
Yeah.
right? Or if it's life threatening and I'm in them right, and giving it to them as they need it right there, they will understand it was for a greater purpose. So I understand you weren't trying to embarrass me. You needed everybody to hear why I did what I did, and I won't do it again.
Yeah.
And it's that simple.
Yeah. And sometimes you
Dude,
need
because
that
I need you to
aspect.
do it to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I need you to do it. I need you to make sure I'm aligned and walking straight sometime. I want to
Oh
start with the podcast and I got something on my face and we talked the whole time and I think I'm good. And then,
yeah.
dude, why did she tell you that? I was like,
Damn.
you know, that's what's real,
Yeah.
right?
And you gotta
That's
have
what's
people in your
real.
corner that call you on your shit and tell you when you're fucking up. Like some of my best friends, I tell them, I'm like, tell me when I am fucking up. Like they know every single detail of my business. Like I'm the one that's telling them, venting to them about things and frustrated about things, and they're entrepreneurs and their own selves have their own cannabis licenses. And I'm just like, when I'm fucking up, like call me on my shit. Like let me know because that's what makes me better. And I'm just so deep in it sometimes that like I can't pull my head out and see above the clouds,
and
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 see
you know
where
what that's called?
direction. What is that called?
You know what that's called? Effective communication.
Mm, Love it.
You are communicating effectively to say, hey, I have a plan, I have a vision, I'm working it, and I confide in you and I trust you guys. I need you to communicate to me when I'm off kilter to what I have communicated to you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, hold me accountable, guys.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do the same to you because we want to be great together. And every single person that exists can do
Right.
that. It's just
Seriously.
it's just the what I mean by nature, we started out as gladiators and warriors and mine and this and that and blah 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 blah. But that was backward thinking, and that's why we've evolved from that thought. We restored that archaic nature and club and hammer and we don't do that dumb shit no more.
Yeah.
Why? It doesn't make sense, right? And so it's everything's connected. We could be having this conversation about cannabis, about the state of our union, about economics, about philosophy. It's all connected. And at the end of the day, all that matters is that we communicate effectively and do our best to be our best. And that means what does right look like and align to that.
Yeah.
If I am successful because I stand on somebody else's neck in their head and now I'm taller and now everybody that is attached to them is on that level that's beneath me, I'm nothing.
Yeah.
What we just have to acknowledge that method does not work and correct it,
Yeah.
restore it.
Yeah.
We stop clubbing mountain lions on the head.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we don't do that anymore, guys. We got technology, right? We can print some meat now. Well, that's weird. Good luck, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so that's the same thing. It's the same approach. It's like, bro, like the industry. We are talking, the industry, and we talk gatekeepers, and we talk all this. It's repetitive of the same BS that was established, and just like everything else, you can continue to push dirt under the rug,
Yeah.
and at some point, that rug becomes dirt, and so does your house.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and it's like, oh, let's push back under. Okay, let's do it again. Okay,
Yep.
let's keep riding. Let's
Same
keep acting
patterns.
like we don't know what is going on here,
Yep.
but we all know what's going on here. So I will before I don't want to jump too much because I remember what our timeline
Oh, you're
was,
all good.
but I don't want to get too much into my soapbox because it does tie into some of the later things
Yeah,
that
I
we
mean,
discussed.
you, for how inspiring your story is and your leadership skills and what you're looking to achieve and build in the industry, you've been through your own tribulations already in cannabis in Illinois. From Illinois, you were part of the lottery. I would love for you to kind of speak on that experience and what
Yeah,
you dealt with there. And then you went to Michigan because it
yeah,
seemed like Illinois was following through. And then here we are today, and you actually are an operator in both states. So, congratulations. But let's talk
yes.
through that process and what you went
Thank
through.
you. Thank you. So, with the entire backstory, my wife dropped the paper on my desk and Illinois was going. I was like, I got to figure this out. Put up my star clusters. That's what we say in the Army. It's like your help signals, and reached out into my network. I continue to be who I am in any type of community and or environment, and so therefore I'm able to reach out, ask, communicate effectively, and good feedback that helps me create a plan and work that plan. So I reached out to my West Point network initially, and that's where I was able to befriend Todd Scatini, and he has a consultant company, Harvest 360, along with another good friend of mine, Josh Alper, and they have a consultant company that essentially helps any individual that has either the acumen or the capital that is interested to get a license in anywhere, help them navigate that process. And so they've been able to do some things where essentially they are because Todd is a career retired lieutenant colonel from the military.
Oh,
And he has a story where he saw the writing on the wall, had a challenging upbringing, and had to just really do his best to be his best, and saw the opportunity in cannabis and how it can help veterans. and understood the war on drugs and how it was disproportionate to some individuals as opposed to others, and is a leader of integrity. And because of that, he built this opportunity to help those who he can align with achieve greater success by just kind of walking it backwards. So understanding what the law is and ensuring that you put forth the best exhibit or you have the best resources available to you. And that's what they were able to build. And I seen him in a podcast, reached out, and we had a conversation. And after one conversation, he's like, dude, however, whenever, whatever, whyever, let's do this.
Love it.
Like, you know, green light, right? And I was like, and I'm thankful and I'm appreciative, right? Same how I met you, And that being said, I was able to utilize some of his resources in order to put forth an application to the Illinois license, where I had one where I was 100%, and I had one other where I was a partner, but the social equity owner.
Okay.
And what I was able to do was utilize some of the examples and the resources to build my application. So in January 2nd, crazy story, I brought in New Year's with the family on January 1st of 2020. Next morning, I flew out on New Year's Day because the applications were due in person. I think January 2nd was the day, or January 3rd, I forget. But I spent the entire day just kind of dotting my I's and crossing my T's. But between September and January, I put together like almost 300 or to 350 page application to submit to Illinois, right? Crazy. Like, it was, but what's more ironic is that like that's nothing that I hadn't learned in the military already. Man, I went to West Point. Like, I was putting together like, oh my gosh, let's put it together before it's too late. And it's the same, kind of what you deal with in the military. It is limited resources, limited time. You got to put forth the best quality thing that you can put forward. And I was ready. I was ready, and I'm thankful because I've always tried to be prepared. Because as a youth growing up in an area that may be over policed one reason or another, and you may have to experience things at a young age that hindsight is like, that wasn't right. Right? I had to be prepared. I could have excuses, but preparedness can mitigate that excuse. I did not want to be a statistic. I did not want to bring my mother strife, angst, heartache, and pain. And we see it time and time again. And we point fingers. Well, you should, and they should, and he should, and this, there. None of that matters. Let's be restorative. Let's change it. Let's be real, right? And where does it start? Well, it starts with politics. It starts with the mothers and fathers and whatever. Everybody start at your level and start. We can all put forth something that matters that's going to make everybody better and have integrity behind it. It is that simple. Be for who you say you are for and be who you say you are. So, I align with Todd, 350 pages, and I'm just twiddling my thumbs, and it is May of 2020. January 1st also is when recreational became legal in Chicago. May of 2020 is when we were supposed to know who would be awarded. And, oh, by the way, March was Armageddon and pandemic, George Floyd. We had everything that was anything you could ever think of. It was out of a book. It was crazy.
It was crazy during that time.
Life was different. People wore suits to go to get groceries. And basketball stopped and baseball stopped. You telling me baseball, America's pastime, is not happening?
Right.
You telling me 6 foot, 7 foot giants are not playing? Because what's real is that we are all connected, and we got to stop acting like we're not.
Right.
And one person being exalted and another person being ostracized, like it won't affect us somehow, some way.
Right.
Like, yeah, sit down and understand that this life is very precious that we very much take for granted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know that if you know
Yeah.
that.
And everything we dealt with the past few years is a great example of just how one other person can impact another, and the lack of taking responsibility and how important all of that is.
And to understand that means to integrate that into your daily walk in life.
Hmm.
Be the best version of yourself. Don't be a dirtbag because dirtbags never get anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, think about anybody that was a dirtbag. Like, they die a horrible death and they're lonely. And yeah, you amass millions of dollars of wealth, but you're lonely.
Yeah.
That
That does
sucks.
suck. And the truth always
The
comes
people,
out. The truth
it
always comes
does,
out.
bro. Like, the people that we lost during the pandemic that didn't have a loved one near them, that sucks. It don't matter how much money you had.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It does not matter. And so I've lived it in that instance, and then being deployed and losing soldiers, and then this kind of gets into my why I'm into cannabis in the first place, right? So I'm three tiered, like everything is, you know. But for me, it's the social justice, it's the social equity, and it's the veteran advocacy. And what does that actually mean,
Hmm.
right? And I integrate that, and this is kind of why it's a part of my cannabis business story because this is the cloth, this is the DNA, and there is no one without the other.
Yeah.
And so I submit the application. I'm waiting for the results. Pandemic is happening, so I'm just building. On the other side, I'm still social justice, social equity, and veteran advocacy. So we know the number of 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And it's also known that at the VA level, we are not researching cannabis as an alternative medicine.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because we got to do the red tape. Not, who cares? But we have individuals that are impacted adversely that doesn't have the opportunity to even explore the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? No. Okay, well, change it. We can do
And
that.
if
It's
it
that
saves a
simple.
life, that's all that matters. Like, if they're not addicted to
At the
opioids
minimum,
or,
research it.
yeah, at the
Like, because
minimum.
we know what's going
Yeah.
on, right? So if we go back to history, right? Because that's what I like. I'm just a weirdo, man. I'm like from the hood. I'm an athlete. I like history, you know.
Well, I think the
um,
core like situation of like how you got to the position on where you are now is simply taking ownership. That's the common theme that I see, and I think that's why you were able to pull yourself out of just an entire world that I can't even comprehend because I grew up in the Midwest in Ohio with white picket fences around me. Like your experiences, it's like I can resonate to only so much as I know. And the core theme from our conversation is you taking ownership. And that's very different than other people that were in your community while you were growing up that were instead pointing fingers.
yes, and it matters to also acknowledge that in that type of environment, there were things that were established that had already set the tone at a advantage for one over the other. Okay, very similar to the cannabis industry. So I was supposed to get my results May of 2020. Everything's getting pushed back, but the entire time, multi-state operators are making money,
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
And here's KJ from the South Side, neighborhood hero, and I'm trailblazing, and I'm out here trying to build teams and find people to see that, hey, I'm a bad man. I'm a jam. I'm doing something
Hmm.
now, right? And I'm just out there, just getting after it because nobody's going to pick you
Yeah.
up, right? I learned that early. But also, why am I having to do all of this? And there were systems that were put in place for others to take advantage of, and I didn't have access to it.
Yeah.
Why not,
Yeah.
right? And so when we look at growing up in that type of environment, everything that's happening today is by intent. And if we want to change it, we have to change it with intention,
Mm-hmm.
without going too deep and having conversations that would kind of take us off
Yeah.
topic, right? So there are challenges. It takes the onus of those who are being challenged and those who have the power and the influence to help create change to that
Yeah.
challenge, to communicate effectively and to work on one accord and to understand that it doesn't matter how much you want to put it in the
Yeah.
closet. At some point, the closet door is going to burst open. You have to figure it out one way or
Yeah.
another, right? And it's the same thing with the cannabis industry. So, August of 2021, 1 year and 8 months after I submitted my application, dun, 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 you're awarded a license through a lottery because they messed up the first lottery. They fired the third party that they hired. And here's social equity, and Illinois is going to do it right. And thanks for trying. It's at least in the
Yeah.
law. We attempted to set the tone and set the precedent, right? But life is life.
Yeah.
August 2021, I'm awarded. Oh, but wait, there's lawsuits. So it is May 17th, 2022, in the year of our Lord, as your denomination or faith, right? And I am roped up with everybody else that's a little guy in a lawsuit at the Supreme Court in Illinois that we only know information when they release information. And we can't do anything because we haven't been issued. And But we put it in the law, and we were all social equity, but we're not doing nothing. We're not doing nothing. We're talking and not doing
Right.
anything. That's BS, right? So now, 2 years, 2 months, or excuse me, 5 months, MSOs having parties and making $1 million. That's cool,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But.
But it's people in jail right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's people in jail right now. In jail, locked
In a
up
cage.
for the same thing that are millionaires. And we're talking about, well, we want to get it right. Well, you want to get it right, start
Yeah.
right. Why was marijuana made illegal in the first place? Systematic oppression
Yeah.
for a bad reason.
Yeah.
We know that. Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. Do the
Mm-hmm.
research. Okay, we messed up. It was bad. It put others at an advantage. The Hemp for Victory campaign that allowed farmers to grow hemp, farmers of a certain demographic. So the starting line for them was way before 2009, when we're going to decriminalize cannabis because it's not a bad
Yeah.
thing as much as we made it seem.
Yeah.
Duh, do the
I
homework.
know. Right? And it just keeps
It's in the
repeating.
homework,
It just
bro.
keeps repeating. And
Because no one wants to get up and just do what you're supposed to
I
do every
know.
day, because that is challenging. It's easy to be a dirtbag until you die a dirtbag
Yeah.
death.
Yeah. And it's so hard to watch because everything you've gone through with Illinois, similar situations are happening in New Jersey right now, if you're following that market at all, where I saw a lot of posts on social media about people being super frustrated. New Jersey just opening up April 21st of this year, and it was the MSOs that got the first day, that were the ones that the previous operators from the medical market in New Jersey, again, is similar structure to how Florida is structured, where there's only a handful of MSOs. You have to be vertically integrated, and that's how New Jersey was under their medical model. And then next thing you know, they open up, all these MSOs are making money, and New Jersey's trying to put their best foot forward. They do have a grading process based off of your social equity status, if you're woman owned, all of these different things, depending on when your application is graded. But when you looked at the regulations and you looked at the structure, you knew, if you read the regulations, that MSOs were going to have the first day, that they were going to be the ones that were going to be able to do it. And so, I guess with that being said, my next question for you is, as a social equity licensee, what can we do to improve these programs? Like, what is your thought process on what we can do, not only from like a regulation, a licensing standpoint? When I ask other social equity folks, like, what can we do? Like, what can we like do better? Because like for me, just handing out a program seems more like charity. Like, is there anything that like I can truly be doing to really help these folks and help them move forward? I know a really big problem is the lack of funding, the lack of capital, how investors and people like talk down or look down on social equity folks, thinking they don't have the education or the resources or anything else because of their background and why they're social equity. Like, it's just so counterproductive all in itself, and it just feels like this endless circle, and there's no like true answers, or maybe there are true answers, we just haven't implemented those true answers to actually move our industry forward and make sure that the backs that this industry was built off of with the drug war, that they can actually have a seat at the table and be successful.
Absolutely. And I believe that an example of what can be done is what you are
Oh,
doing,
thank you.
right?
Okay.
What you are doing, right? And it's that simple. What am I doing? Okay, at every level, lead with integrity, whether it be you're a politician, multimillionaire, first to the market, have the resources, wherewithal, and understanding, and you took advantage of the time, or you're the newly restored, expunged charges, had the acumen, looking to be a bud tender because that all your options are, or you're the advocate, the lobbyist, you name it, right? At each individual level, do what you can do with integrity. That is the answer, right? So we know that it's putting individuals and opportunities and some individuals at a disadvantage. And we want to point fingers. Well, leaders need to run for these positions that have the power to do what right looks like, right? Okay, we got dirt bags in places that dirt bags don't need to be, and they attract other dirt bags.
Right.
That's what dirt
Right.
does. So get up and do whatever you can do to overcome that mound of dirt, understanding that as dirt begins, so shall it end. Understanding that dirt is why we exist, is why the flower exists, because we're all connected. So just as bad as everything we want to talk about exists, the only thing that we can do to fix it is to be intentional about what we're doing and create opportunities for people that are with intention, that is what it says it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have obligation in the application to put our community engagement plan and what we're going to do and how we're going to impact these areas that were disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, but there's no accountability to
Mm-hmm.
that. Hey, 3-year old, I'm just going to throw Cheerios all over the floor and leave the room and close the door. I want you to clean them up and throw them in the trash for me. Don't eat any. Don't stick any in your nose and in your
Right.
ears. Go figure it out. But you got
Yeah.
Cheerios. Okay, so like let's be real. Okay, so at each individual level, lead with integrity. If you have the resources, use your resources to be restorative. You don't have to give anybody anything of financial means, but put them at an opportunity to take advantage of, or hey bud, you need to wake up on time. You got to get here to get the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Don't give any handouts, but if you have individuals that just didn't have the resources or had a lot of obstacles that were put in place to prevent them from having opportunities in the first place, acknowledge that and say, hey, I got a job training program and I am seeking out expunged cannabis people that shouldn't have never happened in the first
Right.
place because cannabis wasn't even illegal until 1937 because of systematic racism and
Yeah.
oppression. It was the second most used
Yeah.
pharmaceutical in American pharmacopoeia, right? It was first used in 2737 BC by an Asian emperor to help with
Yeah.
flatulence.
And I think cannabis evolved with humans. I think when you follow like the cannabis plant and like how humans evolved, like cannabis moved with humans like through our entire
All connected.
evolution.
It's
Like,
all connected. If I don't snap anything else, it's all
yeah,
connected. My success now is predicated on your
yeah,
success,
yeah,
right? Now it's not solely attached in, oh, you're down, I'm
yeah,
down, but if I am going to align and I trust in you that you are being who you say you are, I'm going to do the same
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
right? Or if we want to go and do other things, we just got to accept that if you are a dirtbag, you get dirtbag
hmm,
things. Your friends become dirtbag, and you really looking out for a resource, and you that person that has all that wealth and all these great things, and you alone, my
yeah,
dude.
yeah, absolutely. So, KJ, the future of cannabis. What do you see happening? What do you see happening in Illinois, Michigan? I mean, I ask this question in each interview, but what are your three wishes for our future?
So my three wishes is different for what I believe the future of cannabis is. So I will focus on my three
Okay.
wishes. Um, if I had the genie and my three wishes were real, first that's what I would want. They'd be real and not uh, what is it? Not bewitched. It's a bejeweled. I think is the old movie where the guy's asking for all this stuff and just getting it like he has, but never not
Yeah.
close. So my three wishes are number one, as my next blink, everything that was put at a disadvantage because of the criminalization of cannabis, the war on drugs is restored, right? There's a lot that goes into that, but my wish is that it was restored. But that means we are intentional about the conversation should be expungement
Hmm.
cases and how to get these resources and job placement
Yeah.
because we have to fix our ill thought decisions that were created in the past and not create the same garbage over because it's not going to go
Yeah.
anywhere. All right, so that's number one. Wish we restore that and really establish programs that we hold
Yeah.
accountable. So you have a community engagement obligation. What is that? And we hold you accountable. And if you don't count or abide by what you said you're going to do, we have some type of
Yeah.
repercussion. Same thing in anything,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed. And
Hey,
especially
I'm gonna show up at
going
8.
back to like the community engagement and like your application plan and how you had to like develop this entire community plan and how you're going to improve your community. How do we measure that? What are those key performance indicators to make sure that we are moving forward with those types of things? Because that's one thing. Again, going back to New Jersey also had a requirement in their application for something similar. And I'm like putting it in and I'm working with my client and we're like making this plan together. But I'm like, how do we measure this? What are the KPIs to actually make
And
sure that we're doing a good job with this plan?
yeah, yeah. And it to me is goes back to my experience in the military, but then also you have this community engagement obligation that you write up for this business that you're going to put in this community that you may or may not have a connection to. Where do you start when you want to know what are the best resources that you can bring with the individuals that are within the
Yeah.
community? It's not rocket science, but I guarantee anybody that has put forth a community engagement exhibit has a bunch of garbage in there. We're going to do pamphlets and daily checks with people that we don't know, and is that what they want?
No.
What? And you start with this, like, so in the military, I start with the soldier. All right, man, we got this crazy mission coming up. I have an idea of what I want because I was trained to know and have the resources and I have the bigger picture and the understanding and blah 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 blah. Cause I'm good, right? But like, dude, you're gonna be doing it, right? I'm like, go, and you're gonna be the one running out. So like, how far do you think you should
Yeah.
run? Well, sir, I don't want to run at all. And then you gonna run, okay? Let's get this
Mm-hmm.
right. I'm gonna be running with you. You gonna run, but like, okay, right? So build that for me. Now I have his buy-in because yes, I know what I need, but I need you to make this
Mm-hmm.
happen. So give me some of that. I'm not gonna say yes to everything. You know
Yeah.
that because saying yes to you for everything is not beneficial to
Yeah.
everybody. So I'm gonna say yes and I'm gonna say no, but together we're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
good. right? What are we talking about? We're talking about life. We're talking about the army. We're talking about the cannabis industry. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all the same
Yeah. It comes
thing,
down to
right?
communication.
So go into that
Yeah.
community and say, hey guys, we're going to bring a multi-million-dollar resource into this area. We know this slew of bull that happened to this community because of bad
Hmm.
intention. We're going to put in good intention. What do you see as things that will make your community better that we can help you with? We need jobs. We need clothes. We need, but who cares? Take a whiteboard and not write some stuff
Yeah.
down
Get that feedback.
and appoint some leaders that stand up and really have the passion and allow them to be a part of your advisory
Hmm.
board. That's
Yeah.
free. That don't take
Hmm.
anything. And it will make one of your businesses one of the most long lasting because it's built on integrity and it's in its DNA for those that work in and around and work for it to help it be great because if you are a failure, so are
Yeah.
they.
Yep.
So you want to win, stop pointing and say, all right, what can I do? Okay, well, I got the money. Let me get up and, all right, hey, you're IT, you're smart. Okay, well, I need workers. Not just go hire 15
Yeah.
people. Like, where you going to put this at? And if you're going to put it in your backyard, do whatever you want to do. Hire your mom.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put it in the area that, man, that property's cheap over there, we can really get some tax incentives. And then take that money and not restore, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
You gonna learn what you're
Keep
doing when
reinvesting.
you at a lawsuit or you at wits end with your best friend who you thought was and your wife is gone and you're balding and you got cancer and now you dying alone. I'm a millionaire and I was built on
Yeah.
BS. You swept all your dirt under the rug and now you got to reap what you
Yep.
sow.
Yep. Dirt on the rug. I love
So,
it.
so I think that was my first and second, but it's social equity, social justice, and the equity piece is those who have the wherewithal, competency, understanding. The wish is that they have a very much lesser amount of obstacles,
Yeah.
right? So I am a West Point graduate, an MBA candidate from a very good business school. I am a combat veteran. I have 2 Bronze Stars. I'm a disabled veteran. I'm a blah blah
Got all
blah,
the
right?
checks.
And I have to wait for 2 years and 5 months just to start. And we talked about the MSOs that began before in 2019 and I'm as good can be. I've tried to be my best version of myself everywhere that I
Yeah.
go. And I still had to overcome the same perils that people that look like me,
Yeah.
right? Discrimination from police officers, not getting opportunity because of nepotism or whatever exists at different levels, be it high school, college, you
Yeah.
name it. And I couldn't have an excuse. Nobody cares if I quit, if I lay down and cry.
Yeah.
Right?
You
But
took
there are
ownership.
people laying down crying and
Yeah.
quitting left and right. Right? Let's find out why. And if you had something to do with it, inadvertently or advertently, make a
Yeah.
change. So stop pointing and saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. Go and find out what it is they believe they need, see how you can resource it, come to a happy medium. Hey, this is your responsibility. My responsibility is I'm gonna bring the resource here. Yours is show up and do what you say you're gonna
Yeah.
do. All right, okay, and
Yeah.
restore.
Yep.
Stop saying, oh, all the in between that leads to nothing. You might as well get on Facebook, write a biography, and nobody cares next year in May because what?
Right? Yep. Yep. And what I'm hearing is just the core focus of this entire conversation is just communication, integrity, ownership. Like, see where you can get your hands dirty and have those conversations and make that true impact and put action behind it and do it.
See where you can get your hands dirty, pull your sleeves up, and double underline. Don't be a dirtbag.
Yep. Don't
Don't
be
be
a
a dirtbag,
dirtbag.
man. It's
Don't
real
sweep it
simple,
under the
bro. Like
rug.
it's so it's like I mean, yes, you will be dirty,
Hmm.
right? Yes, you will have dirt bunnies, but don't become a
Yeah.
dirtbag. You don't have to become what you associate
Yeah.
with, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just such a big shift and just cannabis and all around. And I know you've tied everything to everyday life, to the military, to cannabis, and everything else. It's just, I've been in the cannabis industry now since 2013, 2014, and it's just seeing like the entire evolution through all of it, just the different communities from California to the Midwest to the East Coast, and just how different all those personalities, all those different egos, the things that they other people feel like they have a right to, which there are communities that absolutely do have a right to be here, and this industry was built off of those backs from the drug war. But a lot of ego and a lot of not taking ownership and a lot of pointing fingers. And for me, that is like the number one thing that gets under my skin. There's been times with clients where I'm on site with clients and I can feel this hostility, or like things aren't going to plan, because things always happen and you have to adapt and problem solve. And there was this one time I had to call an entire meeting with four grown men, excuse me, and be like, I'm calling a meeting. We're hashing this out. I was like, I'm feeling this vibe. I don't like it, and we need to address it and like move on. Because I'm just like,
Absolutely.
this isn't how I play this game. Like, I'm not gonna be passive aggressive. I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna address it, and
Yep.
we're gonna move forward.
Say what needs to be said, good, bad, or indifferent. And you also touched on something that I wanted to include. So my ability to amass my knowledge and cut my teeth, as I like to say, in the industry, YouTube and Google University. Like nobody granted me like cannabis czar, and now I'm like some
Right.
expert. I would be intentional about learning and understanding what I believe I need to know that aligns me with the skills that I need to be
Yeah.
successful. Same thing that I did when I attended West Point. Same thing I did when I was aspiring to be the team captain in high school and doing karate. Just always be where I'm learning,
Hmm.
where I'm being resourceful, a servant leader
Yeah.
is what I like to say. And YouTube and Google, man, and going to a few webinars here and there, and now the same person, and oh, I've seen your name before. Hey, smart guy, you want to talk about something? And now I'm taking advantage of
Yeah.
opportunities,
Yeah.
and anybody can do
Yeah.
that.
We have so
And
many
so to know
resources.
that it's that
Yeah.
ownership, it's that ownership piece.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, life sucks, bro. Like, man, trust me, I'm with
Yeah.
you. Like we gonna fix that. We got individuals who understand that they had an impact on that, and they're going to be restorative with intention. But you got to get up and you got to show up.
Yeah.
You got to do your part. Stop bitch moaning, complaining. That's what we tell the soldiers. Bro, I hear you. Keep
Yeah.
rucking. Keep going. Shut
Yeah.
up. All right, we got a truck with Gatorade up there waiting for you. You got to get there
Yep.
though. Yeah, you got blisters. You got to get there
Yep.
though, right? And then those who may have put their additional baggage on somebody, take that off of
Yeah.
them, and give that person a ride every now and then, because for a very long time we put a lot on that individual and left them in the rear, and that wasn't right. But we can't do anything but help that person
Yeah.
now, lighten that load. But you better keep rucking and you better show up. And we get there, we all get
Yeah.
Gatorade. Everybody gets Gatorade. Like what, bro? Everybody getting it.
We just
Everybody
gotta get
is
there
eating.
together.
Everybody can eat. And so just be inclusive,
Yeah.
and that does not mean be intrusive,
Yeah.
right? So have individuals that would help you build your vision, understanding that the more that communication and this understanding of diversity is included, is what's going to be the fabric that's going to make you that long lasting. I care about this business because I am a part of this business. This business is who I am.
Yeah.
This is our community that they give back to.
Yeah.
That GM is the best GM because I've been to that other one. And that guy, oof, but this guy here take care of you,
Yeah.
right? So you can do that as a multi-state
Hmm.
operator. I intend to. So become everything that you talk about and be who you said you thought you were when you were back there thinking
Hmm.
about it, right? So I'm a multi-state operator mindset right now, and I am building my foundation with
Yeah.
integrity and being what right looks like. How do we get back? Because everything is
Yeah.
connected.
Absolutely. Well, KJ, do you have any last wishes? I know you listed two.
Yeah, well, so the last one is I had on here is the veteran advocacy piece of
Love
it,
that.
and that's really just ensuring that, and we can really boil that down. Is really any individual in life that could benefit from knowledgeable use and awareness of this flower and its
Hmm.
power, and understanding that just as much as we can use it for good, it can be taken for granted, and so you have to be mindful and be intentional about your use of it, whether it be you're a cannabis educator or a consumer or an artist or a business owner. It's all the same. It's like understanding that this can help put you in a better place if you use it with responsibility and with
Yeah,
integrity,
absolutely.
right? And so, especially for veterans, I am 90% disabled. I just had a few appointments last
Hmm.
week. I have some prescriptions, that came to my house. One package. I was like, man, they get efficient,
Hmm.
right? And that's all my options are in a
Yeah,
sense. And so I think that we're doing a disservice to the veteran, understanding the impacts that the flower can have on our way of life and our quality of life, not only for ourselves, but for those spouses that have to endure all of the stress and the trials and the tribulations of their,
right.
loved ones, their service members' lives. Like, to understand that you don't have to be in turmoil forever with alternatives, and understanding the power of the flower. It's like it can change everybody's lives for the better if we use it
Yeah,
appropriately.
intentionally. And a family
Yeah.
friend who's also a veteran as well. Um, he recently retired, and it has been absolutely incredible watching the life changing results that he's had. He was in Illinois and going to Missouri before Illinois really opened up. Of course, he couldn't have a medical recommendation. He was too scared to like go down that route before he was retired or anything else. And a lot of pain, a lot of opioid use, a lot of like Xanax and things like that to help with the anxiety and everything else. And I spent probably like an hour on the phone with him, just looking up on weed maps and seeing what's all in Missouri, what his options are, like what he could get. And I like put out an entire regimen for him with like tinctures and
Yeah.
topicals, and not really a smoker.
Life changing.
And it's been
Yeah.
absolutely life changing for him. It's been so
Yeah.
incredible. And to see him in his older age, because he was in the military lifelong, that's all he did his entire life. And it was just so incredible to just watch, and
That's
even like seeing
remarkable.
him face to face, like you can see he's more there, more present. He's not in that like daze so much, and
Despair.
it's
Yeah. Just
just so
like,
incredible
yeah.
to see.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great story, and that is what I my wish is that everyone can understand that can be something that we experience. Like, I look forward to federally is legal, and a lot of the politicians that are, you know, sticks in the mud or just wayward thinking, relax a
Right.
little bit, because they are not so paranoid or so pressured to make decisions by people that they don't really align with, but they care so much to write their book. It's like, oh, they're not being service. They're not being of
Yeah.
service. They lack that servitude. So now the power of the flower helps you understand that you ain't gotta, just
Yeah.
chill, bro. Like, it'll
And
be
it comes
okay.
back to
Do it right.
your statement
It
earlier
comes.
about research. Like, if we have more research, then the whole political landscape will start to loosen,
The
because we actually have the data to be able to back things up and say, hey, this isn't addictive. Hey, this does actually help X, Y, and Z. I mean, the one cannabinoid I'm like super excited about is something called THCV. Uh, okay,
already with
cool. So
it.
you
I'm
already
with
know.
it.
And so, like, it's just like all of these,
I'm looking
like,
forward to
it's so crazy, just like the blood sugar levels, like helping like
it.
decrease your appetite. Like, this is this
That's
whole
awesome.
other sector of
It's
this
it's
cannabinoid
another
that we had
life.
no
Oh
idea. Like,
my
here we were
god.
like, helps with anxiety, with sleep. Like, of course, if you have cancer, it helps
Yeah.
with your appetite and like pain management and all
You
these
start
things. But there's like this whole other road that we
weight
haven't even
loss. Oh
gone
my
down that I'm
gosh.
just like,
We ain't
holy
even there
shit.
yet.
Like,
It's gonna be really cool. And you are saying it like so establish all of those things and then like the key word is with
yes,
integrity. Like just do it with integrity and allow opportunities for those who you're going to impact. So if you put it in that area, allow opportunities. If you want to build dispensaries in your backyard and only sell to your cousins, go
yeah,
for it. Like, and you want to put whatever signs and whatever you want it to be, and if it's an attraction, do your thing. Nobody's gonna stop you. But if you are going to have an impact on somebody's lifestyle, make sure that that individual is aware and that they are part of it, or it will be of no benefit to
right,
either of you.
right.
Integrity, man.
Absolutely. Well, KJ, that was a really great note to end on. Before we finish up the conversation, how can people get a hold of you? Feel free to pitch your business in Michigan. How can operators work with you there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be reached at KJ at Ken Company, and that's KenKompany.com. And so that is my essentially my consultant business, and so any business development to include cannabis businesses is where I kind of correspond
Awesome.
there. And so my Michigan distribution company, also Illinois, is Red Ball Express. We're still in the infancy stages. We're using your opportunity through the social equity incubator, as well as a number of other incubation type opportunities to kind of really gain some traction with that. Looking within the 9 month time frame to really kind of get some traction and get into operation with that. But please, I'm also on LinkedIn at KJ Saffold. And at the end of the day, please feel free to reach out. I love to learn. I love to kind of meet people and see how I can be a resource. And all that I ask is that you be a resource as well, because where I may not be able to use something to my advantage, I would love to kind of recommend and help others kind of gain opportunities as well. So if you haven't heard anything else, I'm an individual of integrity, and so if you lack that, just go ahead and do your thing. You know.
Love it. Cool. Well, thank you so
Yes,
much,
ma'am.
KJ, for taking the time. I'm so glad our paths crossed. Shout out to MJ Stack for the
Yeah.
introduction.
Yeah,
And
MJ. Thank you.
thank you again. This was incredible. So thank you, KJ.
Yeah.